And now, prepare your ear holes for penetration as we bring you another great podcast from the Poop Culture Extended Universe.
Before we get started with the podcast, I gotta let you know that our sponsor Vault, a password and data synchronization app using visual aids to keep your data secure, is giving away a $100 Visa gift card when you register using the URL vault.io/PCEU. That's vault.io/PCEU. vault.io/PCEU. Every time you register on the website, you get 1 entry, another 5 entries for downloading the Vault app and enabling the backup and sync. Again, go to vault.io/PCEU to register to win. And now, to the show. Hey dudes and dudettes, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast, a podcast chock full of everything that is nostalgic about the 80s, 90s, and more. This episode, we're looking back at some of our favorite movies, TV shows, and video games that deserve a good old Hollywood reboot, remake, reimagining, what have you. Joining me today is longtime friend of the podcast, where you can find him making his rounds, talking about everything nostalgic as a professional podcast guest. So I welcome former host of the That's So 90s podcast, Bobby Semelsberger.
Oh yeah, former host, and I hope I'm not a little rusty. It's been a while since I've been behind a hot mic like this, but to be on the Be Kind Rewind podcast in 2018, there's no way I could say no. Thanks for having me back, Carlos. Let's have some fun.
Always a pleasure, Bobby. Of course, it's like riding a bike, just jumping back on. You're never going to lose the talent, so don't worry about it. But if any rust, we're going to get it off on this episode. But we're going to jump right into it, talking about some of these favorite movies, TVs, and video games that we've been wanting to see about rebooting. But for a while, we've been receiving a lot of nostalgic reboots over the last few years. Like I said, remakes, reimaginings of our favorite movies. I guess for at least 10 years now, but they've been making reboots for years, but our favorite ones for at least a decade now. What are your thoughts on the whole situation? Are you for the reboots, remakes? Are you against it? Do you have any favorite ones or ones that didn't work out as well?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of an interesting question, just because it's like sometimes they're good. I guess I'm not against it, but it is so funny that that's the way things are heading. Like literally everything. Roseanne's coming back soon.
Mm-hmm.
Power Rangers just had a movie. Baywatch just had a movie. Like they're even rebooting properties that people necessarily didn't even like.
Baywatch is on like at midnight at night, and that's like a movie. They're trying to do a movie franchise with that.
What else? Will and Grace is back, and it's terrible. Like, and I'm not a Will and Grace fan, but it looks terrible, this remake. And it's just kind of like, because everything that was made back in the 90s or the 80s or the early 2000s or whatever the rebooting is, a lot of time there's such from their time frame, as that when you tried to bring them back, like Will and Grace, which at the time was so innovative because they had these gay characters and it talked about stuff we don't usually talk about. But here we are now in 2018, and it's like, well, it's exactly what people talk about. And not only that, but people are doing it much better than they used to do it on Will and Grace. Yet now Will and Grace is back, and it's the same type of humor. It's the same type of laugh track, sitcom-y type of thing that they were doing. And that's not really how we watch TV anymore. So I think sometimes it can be done well. Sometimes it won't be. I think for a great example of like a reboot type of remake, sequel type of situation, Creed. Creed is a movie where it's like, did anybody ever want a 7th Rocky movie or a 7th movie in that franchise? No, we're all done with Rocky. Personally, I was done. And all of a sudden you get a great director in there. You get a great script in there, and you get some great actors. And all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I can't wait to see more. That movie was fantastic. I can't wait to see more. So I think there's ways to do it well, but then obviously there's the cash grabby type of ways where it's literally just like, screw it. We're just gonna reboot something that people kind of liked at one point, even though nobody did. Like Fuller House. I guess I could go on forever about this, but it's just like, dude, Fuller House is the worst. And that's another show where you go, Full House was a show that people loved back in the 90s. Have you ever watched Full House again? It's terrible.
It's cringeworthy. It's tough to get through.
It has like one good joke maybe every 3 episodes. There's like one you're like, that was a good one.
And now knowing how Bob Saget's real personality is, it's even weirder.
Yeah, and now it's back at Fuller House, and you're just like, and it's terrible, and it's literally made just like, if I watched the first episode of Fuller House, and the first 5 minutes of it, it's like John Stamos walks out, then there's like a 20-second applause.
Oh yeah, it's all these curtain calls for everybody,
and there's applause. Bob Saget, and then it's just like, and they're all like making kind of like inside jokes of like, hey, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. You've been downstairs for so long. And it's like, who cares? Who the hell is DJ Tanner? I don't even know who DJ Tanner is yet. Now I'm supposed to watch a whole show about DJ Tanner. Just stop it. It's ridiculous. But according to Netflix, that show does great.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people would watch it.
Yeah. So anyway, basically my answer is they're good, they're bad, I don't know, but I am kind of in that, the opinion of like, whatever happened to original movies? It's always nice to see an original movie. We don't really get a lot of those anymore.
Yeah, and that's an argument a lot of people put out there is the original movies. They're out there, but they just don't get the type of exposure as like the remakes, the blockbusters, all these movies that we're seeing nowadays. Because if you look at the box office, it's like 90% blockbuster and like one or two independent or maybe middle of the road type of movies. But like you said, the stuff that we're seeing now, the nostalgic stuff like Will and Grace, Roseanne, those things were a product of their time. So that's why we loved them, because those shows were perfect for that window of time. But redoing it doesn't really do the show justice, because like you said, the type of material is like not holding up for the time that we're in now. And also, for those shows, a lot of us really relive the nostalgia by watching the older episodes. So if they're gonna do anything, just show the old episodes and maybe have the cast do like a commentary or something. Like that would be what I would like.
And also, I don't mind, like, if Will and Grace came back and it was like a little mini series, like a 4-episode thing, that's one thing. But when it's literally, I'm on NBC and I'm watching The Good Place or whatever their shows, and they go Will and Grace, it's just back. It's just like a whole new season, like it never left. And then just like, what happened in the final episode? And it's like, oh, who cares? It doesn't matter. She had a kid. These people got married. Nah, that was always a dream. I think that's
all that closure, and that doesn't mean anything.
And I know everyone's always talking about Friends. Like everyone wants Friends back because Friends was the most popular show pretty much ever. Is one of the highest rated sitcoms of all time. When's the last time you watched Friends, man? Because to tell you the truth, Friends is like it's not like terrible, but also once again, it's a very much a product of the 90s and early 2000s. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be good now. It's
one of those I feel like you watch when you're like at home with family or like something would be good for everybody. Yeah, it's a comforting. You watch it with your mom, your sister, your brother, somebody growing up type of thing. You watch those episodes, but I know it's on Netflix. I don't go out and seek it, but if like, my wife wants to watch an episode, they're still pretty funny. But like you said, the comedy is for that sick comedy at that time. So it's like, I don't want to see a reboot of Friends at this point. And I know I've heard recent rumors that they're like, there's going to be a Friends type of reboot or a movie. I'm like, stop.
It's coming, dude. There's no way it's not. Like, they're going to offer everyone like $10 million to show up. And here's the thing though. If they were going to be like, we're going to do like a 2-hour TV movie or something, I would be fine with that, to tell you the truth, because it probably would be mediocre, but I would probably also have I have the nostalgia feels too. Mm-hmm. I would still be like, oh, dude, it's Chandler, or oh, dude, it's Joey. Like, I would still enjoy that, but I think for some reason it really takes me off like what they're doing with Roseanne, where it's like, we're going to do like 13 episodes, and if that's successful, there's just going to be another, it's just going to keep going, where it's literally just like, now it's season 10, 11, 12, 13, like the show keeps going. I don't know why that makes me so mad. I don't know. And X-Files is back, and I feel like there's so many things we could just keep naming where it's like, oh, and that's back, and that's back, and that's back.
Yeah, I mean, it's all coming back, but it's like you said, it's a 50-50. Like, are they putting the time and effort into it, or is it just a straight cash grab? Like, those depends. Yeah, they're two different things. And like the ones that I like, the Jungle Book is like one that's like I felt like it's a real, they put dedication and heart into it. Yeah. And it was interesting, and the way it looked, I thought I liked it. I think it turned out well. One that didn't work for me was The Mummy with Tom Cruise, where I thought, I enjoyed the 99 version of Brendan Fraser, which I knew was a remake of an original The Mummy back in, I don't know, the 30s or 40s or something like that. And I just think that the Tom Cruise one, it was a straight, they're trying to copy DC and Marvel. So that in itself was like, they were already trying to put the cart before the horse kind of situation. So it just kind of ruined the movie at that point. And the Jungle Book was just more like, Disney's doing live action of a lot of their movies, but they are putting the time and effort and like making sure it's done right. For the most part, their live action movies have done pretty well. So, and I've liked the Jungle Book. Beauty and the Beast was okay. It looked cool, but the movie story itself was kind of weird.
Well, that's what I wanted to, let me just bring that up too, is like, that's another thing I kind of forgot about. This is a great point. All the Disney live action, that's all Disney's doing now too. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily like there's anything wrong with it, but it also kind of, once again, it feels easy. Like, it just feels like Disney's like, we made these movies 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Jungle Book's from the 60s. People obviously already have feelings towards Lion King they're remaking, Aladdin they're remaking. They just did Beauty and the Beast. They're doing Mulan. Next up is going to be, and who knows, maybe they'll get like the Pixar movies or something. Like they could do Finding Nemo.
I wondered. Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if they went to Pixar.
And so but even that's an interesting question of like you said, they're not necessarily bad. Like Cinderella wasn't bad. Beauty and the Beast wasn't really bad, but it's also like Beauty and the Beast, for example, it's like the same movie. So what's the point of remaking it besides Disney, which it just feels very cynical of like, we know for a fact this is going to make $1 billion, and it did. It made $1 billion. It was the highest grossing movie until Star Wars last year, which kind of ticks me off because it took away money from my precious Power Rangers reboot.
It did,
which I think
actually.
was a better reboot, which had that reboot, in my example, I know, for my opinion, which I know some people don't like the Power Rangers reboot and they just think it's a trashy movie, and I get that thing. But as a huge Power Ranger fan, as we always talk about, I feel like when I'm on this podcast, I think that was something where it's like they took a really goofy franchise, made it a little bit more serious, and at least had something. Like it had a very like they had like they were trying to do something with like the Trini's like a kind of a homosexual type of thing, and then Billy has autism, so I feel like at least they were trying to do something different. Whereas Beauty and the Beast, it's kind of just like it's the same movie with the same songs because we know people are going to like that, and the CD is going to sell and the movie's going to sell and whatever. So even that whole thing with Disney is very interesting because they're like Aladdin. It's probably just going to be the same movie, just with the same songs. And now Will Smith is the genie. It's just
the built-in curiosity at this point for us because of, like you said, built on the name that's already established, so they know we're going to go in, they know we're going to buy the Blu-rays and all that stuff when it comes out, so that's double Blu-rays, and they can even release a re-release of the original to go with the new Blu-rays, so like all these ventures. And
The Lion King, which everyone keeps talking about, it's not even live action. It's technically live action, quote unquote, but it's CGI. I mean, it's like how The Jungle Book was.
Yeah,
it's the same
there are no humans in Lion King either.
That's going to be, it's also, so, but here's the thing. I'm a hypocrite if I'm saying, oh, I'm not going to see that. I'm going to see The Lion King because I want to see it. It has Donald Glover, it has Beyonce now, it has Seth Rogen in it. Like, it has all these voice casts. So, I don't know. They still got me. Like, even though I complain about it and I go, how dare you, Disney? You're just trying to get money. Fuck it, man. They're going to get my money. They're going to get yours monies. And they fucking know. Even if we're mad or not, we're all going to see it.
That's the bottom line. They know it. They know we're going to at least we're going to get the price of admission, and our opinions mean nothing, basically.
Right.
So at that point, but like we said, we still get some good ones, and we're going to talk about some ones that we some of the shows, movies, and video games that we enjoyed as kids that we want to see a reboot. We're going to be the Hollywood execs today, and we're going to be pitching the movies and TV shows and video games that we want to see the reboots of. So we're going to jump right into it, Bobby. We're going to do TV shows first. So why don't you start off with what TV show would you want to reboot?
So I was thinking about this, and I think about a time back in the 80s, but definitely in the 90s when I was growing up, where Nickelodeon was remembered as the #1 kids network.
Nickelodeon.
And the reason I know that is because they said it every other commercial break.
Oh, yes.
Was Nickelodeon was the #1 kids network. But I feel like there was a reason. Nowadays, obviously, I don't really know what's on Nickelodeon. I know SpongeBob's still on. Paw Patrols is really popular, and some other stuff that I see around Toys R Us when I'm buying toys and stuff. But I feel like it's not as popular as it was when we were kids. Now, I'm very biased, but I feel like when we were kids, all the shows were massive. Like, I feel like everyone knew what SpongeBob was. Everyone knew what Rugrats was. No matter what age group, I feel like 20-year-olds were like, oh yeah, I fucking know what Rugrats is. Whatever.
Yeah.
But in that time frame, also, I think what made Nickelodeon so special is they had so many game shows. They used to have all these different game shows from Guts, Global Guts, Finders Keepers, Nick Arcade, and the one that I want to mention, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. With your guide, Kirk Hogg.
Yes.
And the reason it felt so special is you felt like, you're like, wait, that's a kid like me. Like, that's just a kid who went to Florida or wherever and got lucky enough to be on the show. And you can win, you can either win prize money, you can win memorabilia, you can win t-shirts, whatever, or even just the experience of meeting Mike O'Malley or whatever it is. Like, that's all fantastic. And so the show that I would bring back, actually, to tell you the truth, I would bring back any of those shows because it's like, who doesn't want to be on a game show? Still, like, kids still want to do that type of stuff. I think if they brought back Guts, that would be awesome. But the one I want to see come back is my personal favorite, Legends of the Hidden Temple, which I feel like there's a lot of nostalgia for because if you go to Target, they actually have a Legends of the Hidden Temple like board game. I don't know if you've seen
you mentioned that last time, and I wasn't sure if it was available yet. Have you had your chance to get your hands on it?
Yes, and a quick thing about that is I got it as a Christmas present. I was super pumped. My girlfriend's mom got it for me, so I'm like, wow, thank you so much.
The mom's getting she's a winner right there.
Yeah, she knows me. And I was very excited. You need 4 players to play it, and I don't know that many people. So the only opportunity was Christmas when I had my girlfriend and my brother and our buddy came over. Let me just say, it's the worst game. It's terrible. Because it's the same exact game and rules as the show. Like, imagine everything. Like, you got the Penance of Life. You have to do activities. There's literally a part where there's a story.
There's a story?
And you have to remember it. it does not translate into a board game at all. It's the worst board game. I'm never, ever going to play it again. I'm still happy I have it in my collection. And if you got in your collection, it looks really cool. Like the cover of the artwork on the box and everything. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, screw that. But I feel like because they released that game, I'm assuming people still love Legends of the Hidden Temple. People like me, people like you go in the Target and go, oh, whoa, wait, I remember this when I was a kid. They even released the movie in 2016, the Legends of the Hidden Temple movie, which was more of a narrative, and it was about some kids, and it was a direct-to-Nickelodeon movie. And I watched some of it. It was fine, but if the nostalgia's still there, just make the show again. Make the game show, because it's so much fun. Even me, and now in my 20s, if you're like, hey, you want to be on Legends of the Hidden Temple? I'll be like, what the fuck? Hell yeah. Of course I do. So and there's no reason I don't think 10-year-olds now aren't going to want to be on it. You can put in new stuff. Obviously, now technology is advanced. You can put on, digital screens. Maybe Olmec is bigger and has more LED lights or something. I don't know, but the essence is still there. And you can create even crazier, like at the end of the game when they have to, you have that dollhouse style in all those rooms.
We have to keep the silver monkey, the three-piece monkey.
If you ask me, you got to make the silver monkey even more complicated, because there's no way that only 3 pieces. I don't know how those kids never got the silver.
Oh man, it's wanted to punch the screen so many times.
3 pieces, kids. But anyway, I think what a great game to come back. It's like when you go to McDonald's and they had the jungle gym and the ball pit. That was always the best. It's literally that times like 11 at the end. And as an adult, I'd be down to play it. As a kid, I'd be down to play it. I think kids now, there's no reason they wouldn't. And I'd say get Nickelodeon back to being the #1 kids network. I don't know why they got rid of all the game shows. Maybe, Florida, their studio's closed or whatever. But I feel like also those are easier to produce than cartoon series or whatever Drake or Josh type of spinoff or Miranda Cosgrove is doing. I don't know. But it's like, come on, that'd be fun. At least get one going. Guts, Wild and Crazy Kids. I really don't care, but I think Legends of the Hidden Temple would be phenomenal.
Definitely, because like you said, Legends of the Hidden Temple still has that nostalgic aura. Like every Halloween, you go to a party, you're going to see at least 2 or 3 dudes or anybody together, and they're going to be blue barracudas, and they got their helmets and everything on. Like
everyone has their favorite. I'm a purple parrot. Everyone has their own.
I think Blue Barracuda was my favorite, and so it's still ringing true to everybody growing up in the 90s, and so bringing it back, updating it, I'll take it. If you want to ask me to be on it, no problem. So building off of that, from what yours says from TV show or from the kids game shows, I'm gonna do a game show. Mine was Nickelodeon Guts.
We got the cargo net, the tightrope walk, the free fall, and then he's gonna come right into the elastic jungle. Jungle fever! Up the wall climb, down the tube slide, and into the water to get a little wet. Yeah! Talk about it, Mo.
Because, like you said,
I didn't pick that. Wow.
Yeah, and I thought you were going to, but and if you did, we're going to build off it, because the way I have it, and for those, who didn't get a chance to enjoy Guts, we had Mike O'Malley, we had Mo, good old the ref Mo, making sure that everybody was lined up correctly. You were doing all these obstacles down in Orlando. It was just an amazing experience. So I feel like if we brought it back, of course, you got to bring back Mike O'Malley, got to bring back Mo. All the contestants have to be adults, 20 to 30 years old, and it has to be pitted against your best friend or siblings to, settle any lifelong beefs. So I think that's the way that it should be handled. And also, the event should be replicas of American Gladiators. So instead of Guts setup, it's Guts games, but it's the American Gladiators obstacles.
Okay, and you have big hulking people in tights, that's awesome. Kids
and the aggro crag
against giant men. Incredible.
And the aggro crag is just twice as big. You got real pyrotechnics going on. You still get the piece of the aggro crag at the end. I feel like you said, these game shows that are no longer on the network need to come back, and if they do come back, they're going to probably cater to the adults who used to watch them, who want to get the kids to watch them with them probably. So I feel it's a 2-for-1.
Guts is awesome, and we talked about this on my podcast a little bit ago. I did an episode on Guts where it's I'm personally not a huge sports guy. I don't even really enjoy doing group basketball or baseball, because I just feel like people yell at me because I'm always doing stuff wrong. So I'm not a fan of that. But there's something about Guts where it's games that they're not normal games. It's literally they tie you to a bungee cord and you jump around trying to throw basketballs into a hoop, or you're in a little canoe in a swimming pool and you're trying to go back and forth while people are throwing dodgeballs at you. It's this stuff where it's I can't play this at my house. I can't just go in my backyard and play what they're playing on Guts. So once again, like I said, we're on the same page here. It's even as a 20-year-old man as I am now, you're hey, you want to be on Guts up against these 10-year-olds? I'll be dude, fucking bring it. I'm going to tear these 10-year-olds apart. Like, I'd be so down. They always seem fun. And as I think we talked about on a previous episode that I was on, dude, Mike O'Malley is the shit. Michael O'Malley
he is
awesome. Bring him back because he gets people pumped up.
Get him his Penguins jerseys and his hats back and get him back on. And Mo, too. I know I've seen Mo on Facebook. She's ready to go. She's ready to get back into it. So let's do it. Man. So I think, Guts and Legends of the Hidden Temple are two great shows to be rebooted. So those are good ones to start out with. So we'll jump over to video game reboots. And I'll start off with this one. This one's a nice classic. This one's a Disney animated that was adapted to Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Pretty much everyone played this and had their one favorite level in there. It's from Aladdin. I want to reboot Aladdin because Aladdin, like I said, it was basic on every system. And each system had like a different way of kind of playing the game. It was all kind of the same levels, but it was the way the systems worked. It was set up differently and it played a little bit differently. And I think if we rebooted it, that this should be like a VR experience, that you're holding the sword, that you're fighting off, the palace guards, or you're throwing apples at him as you're running around, and you get to fight Jafar at the end, doing all this VR experience, fully immersive. And then you also get to ride the carpet in the Cave of Wonders level. I know everyone remembers the Cave of Wonders level because they always save the password that you get just so you can get on and play the Cave of Wonders because you're trying to dodge that lava after Abu steals the gem. And I think Aladdin would be a great game just to because it was on NES, Game Boy, Sega, it was on everything,
right?
And everything but the updated consoles. And I think it should just go on VR because who doesn't want to jump on and be Aladdin, have Abu on your shoulder?
And I feel like, I definitely have Abu on my shoulder all the time. I put him in my backpack. But that actually might turn out to be true because we do have an Aladdin reboot coming out. Mm-hmm. Because Disney's rebooting everything. I think it comes out in 2019. That would work out perfectly. Get a new game going just to kind of go with the release of the new Aladdin movie. Get that new Will Smith genie in there. Hopefully he does some rapping and stuff. Like, why not? Why not do it?
That's what I'm saying. I think it'll be a good timing. I think the movie itself has its own like dedicated fan base. It's basically my favorite Disney animated movie. Because I listened to the soundtrack nonstop as a kid. I used to listen to it while I was like doing my homework and stuff like that. And so and I still listen to it nowadays. So it's got a memorable soundtrack. Robin Williams will always be near and dear to all of our hearts growing up as 90s kids, seeing him in different movies. So it has so many things attached to it. So even the video game, which it's a video game being a movie adaptation, not very many of them were very good as a Nintendo or Super Nintendo back in the day. They just kind of threw a label on a game and put it out. This one was actually really fun and engaging to play, so I feel like they could step it up and do it for a VR, or even hell, put on Xbox One and do something different.
Right on. My pick is I actually picked something that is known to be one of the worst games of all time because I want it to be rebooted and done well. And it doesn't even have to be specifically what this is based upon, but just in general. We have never gotten a good Superman video game, ever. And they've tried, and they did with Superman Returns when that movie came out. They tried to do one, which I've never played, but he fights like a tornado at the end, and that's like the boss battle.
I've seen footage of it. It doesn't look very fun.
No, and still to this day, it's like now with Arkham Asylum and all those games, we've had the Arkham games for Batman. People love it. He's awesome. He kicks ass. You get all the villains in there. There's a great world building and all that stuff. I want to see something like that done with Superman. So what I'm tackling is one of the most notoriously known video games, which is Superman 64, which I don't know if you ever played. I remember playing this when I was a kid. I remember going to Blockbuster, and this is true, and I remember getting it, and we were going on, because I love superheroes, so I didn't really care what it was. I was like, hey, Superman, great. And I remember going up to the front to check out, and the guy who was checking us out who worked there literally looked at me like, oh, man, my buddy told me this is super hard, or something like that.
Oh, man, he was giving you a warning from the beginning.
Yeah. And my mom looks at me, and she's like, you sure you still want it? I'm like, I'm 7 or whatever. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, you're just like, I picked it. Yeah, this is what I want.
And also, I'm not the best at video games, so when I played it as a kid, I was just like, oh, I'm not very good at this, because I just remember the first level where you have to fly through rings for 30 minutes, and then you don't complete the task. And then it wasn't until years later that all of a sudden I've realized now with the internet of oh wait, this game is terrible and everyone hates it. And it made me think, when I was researching what should I reboot, I want to reboot, not necessarily do we need the 64 or the Batman or the Superman animated series graphics, because it was based on Superman the animated series, but just Superman in general. The fact that we haven't got a good Superman movie, it's Superman. Like, I feel like it should be something special where it's like he can literally fly. He has heat vision, breath. His breath is super cool. He has super strength. Like, there's so many things that I feel like you could do with a game where he just has to fly around saving people. People are just coming out of different buildings and stuff, and you have to try and catch them. And then different characters, different planets. And a lot of these characters we have not seen in the movies, in TV, or in the video games, where it's like, dude, bring in Metallo, bring in Brainiac, bring in half of Superman's like arch enemies. I don't know why they're holding off on any of these characters in like movies and stuff. Obviously, Lex Luthor, you could have him going to different planets. You could have him interacting with, maybe Batman shows up for a second. You fight side by side with Batman, or you fight side to side with Martian Manhunter or Wonder Woman or something like that. Like, I just think, and this is very basic, but I'm just like, just make a good Superman game. I feel like it'd be dope as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how, like you said, they haven't made a Superman game with all these features and things that he has, but we can make, 20 different Mario Brothers games, but we just can't figure out Superman for some reason. This is one of the most iconic comic book characters of all time.
Right, and I mean, you could kind of say the same about some of the movies, too. I guess you could argue, like, why isn't there that many good Superman movies? I don't know, that's a whole different argument. But I think with the games, too, it's like maybe the argument is like, oh, well, he's too strong and he's too fast, and, like, that's not an interesting game. But then it's like, yeah, but then you could take him off planet. Like, you could have him fly into space, go to a different planet. He goes to a planet where he's not the most powerful alien anymore. Maybe there's a bunch of different Kryptonians, something like that. I don't know. Zod comes down. He has to fight Zod. And also what's so interesting about Superman, which I think they tried to do with Superman Returns. I didn't really play it. I just heard about it and read about it. But like, what's so interesting about Superman is like, it's not about him fighting bad guys because he can easily take out any criminal or whatever. It's about him saving people. Like, that's what he can't do. He can't save everyone. That's his thing, is that there's somebody in a burning building in China, and then he's over in Metropolis, and somebody just gets into a car accident. He has to try and save both of those people in the blink of an eye, and that's where his personal dilemma comes. That would be kind of an interesting game. I think they did do that with Superman Returns, but I think they just didn't do it good enough. And I'm not a video game expert, so I don't know how you make it better. But I just think, come on, let's try again with Superman. It's not like we've tried recently.
I agree. I think Superman deserves another chance because there not very many, if any, at all, good games for Superman, and we have so many dedicated to other superheroes who aren't as cool. So I think Superman definitely deserves his game. So we're going to move on to our last category, the movie reboots. This is one that people are very familiar with. We hear about movies being rebooted left and right. The last one that I heard about, I think it was The Great Outdoors, is going to be rebooted with Kevin Hart being in it. I don't know how that's going to happen, but that's happening apparently. So yes, but with these movies, I feel like I want to take a movie that is probably a lot of people's favorite, but kind of just do a little twist on it, kind of like a reimagining, I guess, is what this one would probably be. I'm going to want to do the Three Amigos.
Wherever there is suffering, we'll be there. Line.
Wherever liberty is threatened,
Wherever liberty is threatened, you will find the Three Amigos.
And so for those who are not familiar, the original cast, we had Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Martin Short from SNL, three silent film stars who are mistaken for real heroes by suffering people of a small Mexican village, and they must find a way to live up to their reputation. So I think for the reboot, the three actors who replaced the original would be Andy Samberg, Bill Hader, and Jonah Hill.
Oh, interesting.
So I think those would be our three. Of course, we got three comedians, and I think my plot would be three normal men, while on vacation, are mistaken for three international romance actors who are supposed to be promoting their upcoming movie in the same location, but go missing when their plane crashes in the adjacent jungle with no food, water, or communication. After figuring out where the actors are located, the three men must fulfill the missing actors' obligations while figuring out how to save the actors from the depths of the jungle before they meet their impending doom.
Wow. All right. Yeah. You got a whole log line.
I seriously sat for half an hour last night. I was like, I could just shoot the shit with this one, or I could really try to figure this out. And as I was going through the plot, I was like, this would be kind of a cool thing to one of those fake trailers you'd see before Tropical Thunder or something like that. I feel like this type of movie would be a good one to see in front of.
You know, it should be interesting because that movie is about the movie industry to an extent. You could actually, what if you did something where it was like the characters in the reboot of the Three Amigos were actually rebooting those guys' movies.
Oh man,
from like back in the 20s or the 30s or whatever that takes place in, and maybe this one takes place in the 60s or the 70s, or I don't know, maybe currently, but it's like they're trying to reboot, I don't know if the Three Amigos or whatever their other show was. I know you could play around with that.
Oh yeah, no, keep it super meta. You know, like they're constantly referencing things that happened in the first movie, but we don't want that to happen again. But somehow it keeps happening one way or another. Something like that. I like that idea for sure.
I could see them rebooting Three Amigos. I don't really want them to, even though I haven't seen it in a while. It was a movie that when I did finally like watch it as a kid, I was like, dude, this movie is like perfect. Like I remember being like the perfect movie. I just thought it was hilarious. It doesn't like swear. Like it was kind of perfect for kids too. There's not like a lot of like raunchy, dirty humor, and it was just funny. It's just like silly funny.
Just one of those movies that jokes you're still getting jokes now that you didn't get as a kid. You're like, oh, okay, that's what that is. So yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily a need to have this reboot, but I think if they did, I would like it to go in this direction. So that's kind of where we're going with that one. So what's your movie reboot? All right.
I was between two, but I think the one I picked is better. I'm going to give an honorable mention to a movie I literally just watched 2 nights ago, which is 1999's Wild Wild West with Will Smith and Kevin Kline and Selma Hayek, 90s Selma Hayek. Oh, my God. And 90s Will Smith. I mean, he's a looker as well. And that's
Desperado, you don't want nada.
Exactly. And this is peak Will Smith. This is him rapping, doing a rap or a music video for every single movie he's in at the time. This is him at the peak of his power. This is right after Men in Black. This is right after Independence Day, whatever. And this was his come down from the peak of his power because this was a movie that nobody liked. But as a kid, which I think I was 6 when this movie came out, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I was like, cowboys are awesome. I wanted to be Will Smith. And I just watched it again last night. I'm like, it's fun. It's such a weird, fun concept. However, that's not the movie I'm going with. That is my honorable mention. I think you could make it really dope. The movie I think should be rebooted is a movie that, once again, didn't really do great financially or critically, but I think the premise is very promising, which is The Last Action Hero.
Holy cow! I'm in the movie!
Who the hell are you?
Don't shoot me! I'm Danny Madigan, I'm a kid!
And you're going with him.
Who is this twerp? And where is that smile on his face?
I don't even know this kid. To a world that's bigger than life.
This ticket is magic, and it really works.
And better than real.
You really believe that you're inside a movie, don't you?
Yes!
Nice.
Which has Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you guys don't know, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger about a kid who lives in our world, the real world, which is very dark and depressing. He lives in New York, and it's very grimy. He likes to go to this old movie theater. He has a magical movie ticket. I forget how, but he gets this magical movie ticket, and when he's watching the newest movie from his favorite action star, which is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, all of a sudden he gets sucked into the movie, and now he is in the movie with this over-the-top action star like Arnold Schwarzenegger likes to play, and all of a sudden they're in the movie, and then all of a sudden the villain of that movie gets out into the real world, and they have to chase him out to the real world, and it's a whole thing. The movie itself is not necessarily great, and it didn't do well, and it came out right after Jurassic Park, so financially it didn't do well, and everyone thought it was going to do great because Arnold Schwarzenegger, also at the peak of his power at this point, is right after T2, like he can do anything. However, that premise, and because I'm a guy who loves movies and movies about movies and the movie industry and all that type of stuff, what a fantastic idea for a movie about going in to an action movie, like an over-the-top action movie where there's unlimited bullets, and when you get shot in the arm and you're just like, oh, I'm good, and cars explode with one hit and all that type of stuff, and all the tropes that go into action movies and stuff, and just you can get really over the top with it. What a great concept that I think you could reboot now, and it's because it's also a movie that not a lot of people know or really hold dearly to their heart. There's definitely a fan base out there. I don't even necessarily like it that much. Like I said, it's just the concept. I think it's a movie that I don't think anybody would have any problem if all of a sudden tomorrow in the Hollywood Reporter, like, they're rebooting The Last Action Hero. I think everyone would be like, cool, great, who cares? Like, it's not like they're rebooting Terminator or something like everyone loves. And I think, who would I get in it? You already know the obvious answer. You're going to get The Rock. Like, you already know the obvious answer.
I already knew it.
I also had a different idea. Obviously, you could do the same type of story where there's a little kid who's played by, Finn Wolfhard or somebody from Stranger Things, right? And he gets sucked into the movie, and it's kind of the same thing. And you just take, instead of being kind of based off 90s action movies, maybe you take it and you base it off of today's action movies. Maybe it's like a Fast and the Furious-esque reboot, or you take some of the tropes that we see in movies now. But I had a different idea where, what if you had the idea that you have a washed-up action star played by Will Smith, right? Who isn't necessarily washed up, but Will Smith isn't the man that he once was back in the 90s where he was the peak of everything. What if you have a washed up action star like Will Smith who all of a sudden is watching one of his older movies when he was 20, 30 years younger, and all of a sudden he gets sucked in to that movie. And so you have Will Smith playing against a younger Will Smith who, no, I'm not casting Jaden. Jaden's not anywhere near this movie. The younger Will Smith character will be played by Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
Who I think is the current Will Smith. If you look at Michael B. Jordan, his acting is fantastic. He's a great action star. Also, he has the charisma that Will Smith had. I think if you actually paired Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan, who Michael B. Jordan now in this movie is playing way over the top action star, he's very macho, and you have Will Smith who now is, in his 50s and washed up, and maybe he's depressed and maybe he's divorced, and obviously he's not from this action world. He just plays an action character. I just love that idea of a younger and older version meeting up. They have to deal with each other. And what I think would be interesting too, which they didn't really play too much into the original one, you could go into a shit ton of different types of movies. Like maybe they're trying to chase a villain, and instead of him coming out to the real world, which maybe does happen, what if he goes into an animated movie? What if he goes into a rom-com? What if he goes into a musical? And you chase him through all these like over-the-top versions of these movies, and you could have cameos by Ryan Gosling, Channing Tatum, Emma Stone. Like these people, like, obviously Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone were in La La Land, which some people love, some people hated. It depends who you talk to. But what if they had a version of that and they go into that and there's a shootout and all this crazy stuff? And in the same way that Wreck-It Ralph, you get to meet Sonic and you get to meet Bowser, and he kind of goes through it a couple different video games. I want to see that same thing but done with the movies. And at the same time, you also have this weird buddy cop movie, which is a buddy cop movie that happens to be the same exact person, just in different times of their life.
That's awesome.
There's all this really cool shit that you could do with it. You come back into our world, everything's live action. All of a sudden, when you get hit with a bullet, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. It's not just like, that just grazed me, I'm all good. I don't know. And I think there's a lot of, like I was saying before, I think there's a lot of current stuff in Fast and Furious movies, obviously the Rock's movies, whatever, superhero movies maybe too, that you could play on, you could make fun of. And, I think it could be very relevant and fun. So that's what I'm pitching. I'd be super excited if they did something like that.
Dude, that is an awesome idea. I love that. The Last Action Hero, I love that movie growing up. I watched it whenever it was on HBO or whenever. I think that's the only time I ever watched it was on HBO. And yeah, excuse me, I loved Arnold because, like you said, this is the peak of Arnold's reign, and just the concept of itself of being able to jump into an action movie and like interact with the environment, like when at one point where the actor or the action movie goes into the real world and they don't have the same consequences. It's funny how those two things interact, and I loved how you have Will Smith incorporated going with his old self and being a buddy cop situation. That's just awesome. I'm surprised that nobody even tried to do something like that, because we've had these similar type of movies, but nothing to that detailed.
Yeah, and it'd be so fun. And also, I love anything where you can take characters from other films or franchise and kind of mash them together. I don't know the legal rights to any of this stuff, but they did it recently with like the Lego Batman movie. If you saw that Lego Batman, it's like the Joker at the end, he's like, oh, let's grab characters from Lord of the Rings, characters from Jurassic Park, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what if the same thing, they're chasing a villain? What if the villain all of a sudden gets smart and he's like, oh, I got Darth Vader on this side. I got fucking Jigsaw from the Saw movies. I got Hannibal Lecter. And then you could have all these iconic like villains that all of a sudden Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith, who are just like cops, basically. They're like, oh, fuck. And then you see like literally he's a cop from a cop action movie that's to take on like Darth Vader. Like I said, I don't know the rights to any of this stuff, but something like that would be dope as shit.
It's like a Ready Player One type of situation.
Or yeah, and I think once again, you could do something clever. I don't know if I could. If you had a good writer on it, they could do something clever where you're critiquing this kind of reboot nostalgic culture that we're in. Maybe it's something like Will Smith's actor character is like, oh dude, they're rebooting my franchise like 20 years later. And maybe that's why he's so depressed, is because they're rebooting it or something like that. Yeah, and maybe he goes into the reboot. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe his character goes into the reboot. Michael B. Jordan's the rebooted character. I don't know. But I think you could, that's my favorite type of stuff, is when you kind of like meta, but also when you're kind of wink, wink, but you're also kind of having fun with it, and you do it in a clever way. That's like, you guys love nostalgic, reboots culture like this is, but at the same time, we're going to be commenting on that. And then at the end, you go, oh, fuck, man, I'm such an idiot. Whoa. Or whatever. I don't know. But I think that'd be awesome.
Well, sounds like you need to start getting that pitch ready.
Dude,
for,
I'm ready to
for
write
Hollywood.
This shit. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm just like, this is it right here. I did it. Because Be Kind rewind.
Dude, that seriously takes the cake. I love that. That one takes the cake out of all the choices today. So your reboot of Last Action Hero by far takes the cake today. So those are some awesome choices we had for our reboots for TV, movies, and video games. But we hit up Twitter. We said wanted to see what the listeners thought about what they wanted to reboot. We got a pretty good, actually we got an awesome response. So we got a bunch of Twitter shout outs that we're gonna rifle through here and see which ones we think we want to elaborate on some more. So just kind of jumping right into it. We got TD at T_T_81 at 81 says, always wanted a Ren and Stimpy movie. Did they make one? I could have sworn they made one.
No, they never made one of those.
All right, well, we're still waiting. We're all waiting on it as well. Next one, we got Good Times, Great Movies at GTGMcast says, hey, dude, no question. I would definitely take a Hey Dude reboot because I'm pretty sure that the cattle ranch out there, it's still in existence out there in Arizona. It can happen.
I thought he was literally just saying, hey, dude, ... and he didn't have an answer.
Oh, no, they sent me a Hey Dude gif as well, so we're good to go. We got confirmation they want the Bar None Ranch back on the air.
Okay.
So I'm all for it. Next one, we got the Ouija Board Broads at the Ouija Board Broads, or Ouija Broads says, I'm on a one-woman quest to get Alien Nation rebooted. The Netflix Bright movie was just a cheap knockoff. Yeah. I don't know if I remember that one, Alien Nation. Did you watch that?
I've never seen it, but I know what it is. It's a movie with James Caan and some other actor plays. I think it's Mandy Patinkin or something like that. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's another story where it's a detective movie, but his partner is an alien, and it's very much commenting on social, racial type culture. It's the same way that Bright was trying to do, but Bright was garbage. So didn't do it as well. And I think that movie's a little bit more nuanced with it. So why not do a mini series? Do like 6 episodes. I could see that.
Sounds like it's worth it because I watched Summer Bright and I just couldn't finish it. I was like, you know what? I'm not interested and I'm done. I just kind of stopped watching it. So yeah. All right. Well, the next one we got This Geek's World. At This Geek's World says Manimal. That's a 80s classic with going back to the 80s where they came up with the some of the craziest premises for TV shows and everything else. A little help from the cocaine, I guess, goes along with that. Next one we got DB Alder Green at Glitter and UFOs. She says Legends of the Hidden Temple. So you have somebody on your team here for Legends of the Hidden Temple to get that bad boy rebooted.
The DM me and we'll come up with a thing and we're gonna go to Nickelodeon ourselves. All right.
All right, you got to hit up Orlando soon enough. So next one we got 3 Men in a Podcast. At 3 Men in a Podcast says Bucky O'Hare, which I don't remember this show, but I think it's a UK or a European show. So looked like a pretty crazy 80s cartoon with like animals and space type of situation. So almost like a Star Fox type of situation. So looks like it might be worth a look here and there.
I'm not cultured enough to know what that is, so I got no comments.
Yeah, I didn't. I had to get clarification. Next one we got Jonathan Quintero at Jonathan Quinley says Mortal Kombat movie, Ninja Gaiden video game because the first reboot sucked, and the reboot of Reboot or Johnny Quest. So he wants the actual reboot of the show Reboot from back in the day. You remember watching that on Saturday morning cartoons?
I don't remember Reboot. I remember Johnny Quest though, and I think Johnny Quest is actually a movie I've been thinking like you could do Indiana Jones but with a young kid or like a teenager. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, if you're a fan of Reboot, go check out the episode. We had Bob on the show. Michael Benier was the voice, so go check him out if you're really looking to get some more insight on Reboot. But I think Mortal Kombat's already, there's always talks about a Mortal Kombat movie in the process. But Ninja Gaiden, I did enjoy Ninja Gaiden as a Nintendo game. I don't know, there's a reboot? Was there an actual like movie or a TV show?
I don't remember. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Reboot was the one I want. Johnny Quest I didn't really watch much of, but Reboot definitely. All right, moving on. We're almost halfway through. We got Waffle Productions at Waffle Productions says the Gargoyles. They want some gargoyle action.
Okay, that was super popular. I remember that coming on between like other stuff like Power Rangers or whatever I was watching.
Yeah.
But that live action would be, I think, really cool. It's just visually. Gargoyles coming to life, I'd be down for it. Yeah.
I'm all for it as well. We got B Ferg at D3LVUS, Dungeons and Dragons. There's a cartoon Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't watch it, but from the gifs I saw, it looks enticing.
To tell you the truth, it's only I'm not a D&D guy, but there's only a matter of time with how well Game of Thrones is doing, and Amazon just bought that Lord of the Rings TV show that nobody really seems to want. Dungeons and Dragons, like there's no, and especially because Dungeons and Dragons, I think it's now more popular with Stranger Things, and we're on that comeback thing.
Exactly.
I feel like Dungeons and Dragons movie or TV show or whatever is coming in the next 5 years.
Yeah, you're right. That's like the next, like, lost the fantasy thing that hasn't been purchased or been developed in anything yet. They've done the movie back a few years ago, but
straight to Hulu, man. Dungeons and Dragons on Hulu. It's coming.
We'll take it. We'll take it. All right, Sippin' and Swearin' podcast at Sip and Swear. Definitely Rugrats all grown up. No shame in it. I'll take a Rugrats reboot, see what they look like. They did like a high school or like a middle school one, I think, of them, didn't they?
Well, that's the all grown up version, yeah. So now, does he want that rebooted, or does he want the actual show? Does he want the original or the remake rebooted?
Yeah, I think he wants the Rugrats all grown up rebooted. Which I would take the original, but I didn't really watch any of the all grown up, so that's why I was unfamiliar. But I'll take the baby version. I don't know about the all grown up.
I could see the baby version. Once again, I see that coming back. I don't know why it wouldn't. Hey Arnold's back. They did that movie. That was pretty good. Like I said, if they do Rugrats, but they do like a movie of like, oh, it's the lost story of when they were 2. Or if they do a movie, we're talking about all grown up. What if they did something where they're all adults? Like, I don't necessarily care that much, but, if it was a half hour, 1 hour movie, I'd kind of be like, sure, what's their adult lives like?
They should do
Tommy an accountant?
Yeah, super reality where they're the adults and the parents are so old that they have to take care of their parents now. So now they are the overtakers or the caretakers.
Chucky's suffering from depression and
it's all
suicidal.
too real.
Yeah,
it's just too real. All right, well, I'll take a Rugrats baby one at this point. I'm not sure about the
baby
old
one's
grown
just
up.
innocent. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, a couple more here. We got the Filmmakers podcast at Filmmakers Pod. Got to be Batfink. I don't know if I watched Batfink at all.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
All right, American Slacker at American Slacker Pod. Clarissa Explains It All would be legit. I'll take Melissa Joan Hart back and Clarissa. Maybe, I don't know, it would be creepy though, seeing an adult dude like just randomly come up through her window. That would be weird.
Oh, yeah. I don't really have too much
Sam.
Nostalgia. I think that's another one. It's like that. I remember that being so bright in 90s that it's like...
Yeah, it was.
Not touch that. That's going to be terrible.
All right, we got Dregs of Craig. Dregs of Craig say, I've wanted a reboot of Legends of Dragoon or sequel for years. Legend of Dragoon or Dragon. I don't know if I've remotely heard of that one either. So these
are talking about the Owls of Ga'Hoole? Because that's the only one I don't know. I don't know.
We might have to do some Wikipedia. Yeah. All right. Handsome fella HV variety show. Nick Arcade. Phil Moore. I've talked to him. He's talked about multiple things happening in process that could bring an adult Nick Arcade back. So stay tuned for that. That could actually happen.
That would be cool. I think, and also you could do the arcade games versus maybe like Nintendo Switch or virtual reality type of stuff. Like the whole thing, that show is awesome, but it's crazy dated, as you would imagine, because technology is such a part of it. And you're like, wow, this is old. But a new version, which would also be dated in 20 years though, but right now, doing something with like virtual reality, they go through different levels and stuff, that'd be awesome.
I mean, the technology, the way they did it was like the pioneering at that point, but the way it's pulled off, it's just like it doesn't hold up. But yeah, I would definitely go for an adult version. And like I said, stay tuned because it could happen. So we'll see. We got IABD Presents. This is a tough one. My first thought would be Firefly, but I don't trust anyone to do the original justice right now.
Yeah, and I think that ship has kind of sailed, the Firefly. I watched Firefly. I thought it was really good, but they did the movie. The movie's actually really good too. I think you're good. I don't really touch it. Like, it's only going to be bad. I feel like.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion. He's got, what is he, Castle? Isn't that his other thing he's doing?
Yeah, he's Castle. That got canceled, and I think, like I said, you got the movie. I think as a fan of Firefly, if you are a fan, you got a freaking movie that went to theaters. It didn't do well, but I feel like that's a good enough kind of cap on it that. Come on,
another thing, like you said, I think these are testaments to maybe the Hulu or Netflix age where they could be, get that streaming movie.
Don't put it past them, though. Once again, I could see a spin-off, though. Like, how there's so many different types of Star Treks and there's so many different types of whatever. I could see, like, Firefly, the next generation, because people go, oh, my God, it's back in the universe. I could see Netflix doing that or something.
It's a possibility. Okay, I promise we're down the last few here. We got Jeremiah Never at Coffee is Food. I'd kind of like to see if someone wrote something new. Yeah, we've got new stuff.
Hit me up, man. I got ideas.
Yeah,
I got lots of ideas.
We just had the most epic Last Action Hero reboot pitch of all time. So
it's original. It's an original reboot.
You know who to hit up. All right, D. Gordon at Biggles 1973. Eek the Cat. I remember seeing like parts of this movie. My sister watched this with our cats actually. So that's the only thing I remember about that show.
I got no idea what that is.
Odd Dad Out at Odd Dad Out. I always felt like live action CGI gargoyles would be amazing, kind of like Jungle Book. Get Jonathan Frakes to come back soon. All right, this guy knows what he's talking about. All right, Super Movie Bros at Super Movie Bros. I'm ready for a modern take on Buck Rogers in the 25th century. I think we're a little too young for the Buck Rogers. I don't even know if my dad probably watched that, but I don't remember seeing too much of Buck Rogers. You?
I mean, I know the title. I don't know what. I bet it'd be cool though. If somebody cool, hey man, really with any of these franchises, if somebody cool got their hands on it, like a cool writer or director, it's probably going to be great.
Yeah, it could all be adapted some way, one way or another.
Any of these, if like Ryan Coogler, who's doing Black Panther, if he got his hands on any of these, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. All right, Juice in the morning. I need some reboot I need them to reboot Street Sharks if I could talk today.
I don't know.
It was just one of those many like they're playing off Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kind of.
Exactly. I was just about to say that. Like if there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is always going to be around forever until we're dead. If there was like an episode where it's like, oh, we're hanging out with the Street Sharks, like I'd be fine with that. I don't know if anybody really needs a Street Sharks like reimagining.
No, I think we're all living with the Street Shark toys and the long-lived animated series. So, okay, Channel Surfing Pod at Channel Surf Pod. Biker Mice, another one we just talked about in regards to like a TMNT. Craig E at Night Batman. I'm going to need Battletoads or King Arthur, the Knights of Justice cartoons rebooted. And I've been waiting decades for my live-action Silverhawks movie. Battletoads is the only one I can...
Yeah,
get out
waiting.
Of that one.
Nobody wants that crap. You keep waiting, sir.
All right, last two. Crossover podcast at MPeer 6, Batman the Animated Series, which I don't know if I want that rebooted.
Don't touch that.
So great. Yeah,
Batman.
I'm sorry.
How many Batmans has there been? I think Batman is fine. I don't think there needs to be anything with Batman. You're going to get Batman once again until you're dead because that's DC's cash cow. Mm-hmm. I think what they want is just a Batman either live action movie or something that is as good as the animated series. I think that's the difference.
Can we get the live action one first? We haven't even seen that yet. We've been getting Batman already teamed up with everybody. Let's get a Batman alone movie. I'll take that, please. All right, last one. Dregs of Craigs at Dregs of Craigs. Although I hate the lack of originality in Hollywood already with the mostly reboots and remakes, I would probably go for a reboot of I Love Lucy, Hee Haw, Sonny and Cher, and The Carol Burnett Show. Something fun and varietal. I would do some I Love Lucy action.
That person is old, it sounds like.
So I Love Lucy I'll get down on. I didn't watch Hee Haw or Sonny and Cher.
I think all of those have passed. I don't think a lot of people are going to be clamoring for half of those.
There's actually an I Love Lucy movie. I think I can't remember who the actress is already in who's committed to it, but yeah, they're doing the I Love Lucy like movie, so that's coming. But the other stuff I can't attest to, but I am a fan of most of the stuff that everyone has pointed out. So thanks everybody for the Twitter shout outs. So we got a ton of them. Yeah, there's a ton of them. So thank you. But Bobby, that was pretty much everything I wanted to go over in regards to our nostalgic reboots of everything. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or go over?
No, man. I think we did it. You got a lot of responses right on. I'm glad we got through those. No, I think I'm happy with what we said. I'm happy with my pitches. I tell you the truth, I got myself very excited to be down to see any of that stuff. So,
yeah, man. I'm telling you, that
Hollywood,
Last Action Hero one.
We know everyone's listening to Be Kind Rewind. So Hollywood, you hit me up. All right, you hit me up.
Hit him up. So in that case, then where can they find you to hit you up online and get to these pitches from you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Captain Bob Berto, and that's it. No, I don't have a podcast. If you want to try and watch or listen to some of the original That's So 90s that I used to be a part of, you can find those either on YouTube. There's a couple on SoundCloud or iTunes, but they've kind of disappeared. So unfortunately, the only place you can find me is trying to make jokes on Twitter.
Hey, we can find him there. You can find him on here because Bobby will be a lifetime guest of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast. So thanks, Bobby, again for taking the time. Thanks everyone else for tuning into this episode of the Be Kind and Rewind podcast. Make sure you tune in every Thursday for new nostalgic episodes. In the meantime, subscribe, like, follow, and rate the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, YouTube, and Poop Culture Podcast Network at poopculture.com. Also, follow the podcast on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Be Kind Rewind Pod for all of your nostalgic needs. So thanks, and be excellent to each other.
Bye-bye.
What you just heard was a podcast from the Poop Culture Extended Universe. For more great podcasts, make your way to www.poopculture.com.